Hey there everyone, it's Val, and welcome back to Skyrim Zahjira's Travels. Alrighty, I think all my ducks are in a row. I guess technically they're Zahjira's ducks, but they seem to be in a row. It's a good thing we're not herding cats, because that would never happen. And hello to Simuse, who said hello just as I was ending the previous episode, and Dynastic Smile 88 on Mixer. Hello, welcome to the stream. Yes, it has been a while. I don't know if you know about SRP streams, but this is one. SRP means serious roleplay, and the thing in the upper left-hand corner indicates that I'm in SRP mode, which basically means, from my point of view, if I am in any screen except, well, basically a save screen, I'm in character and I'll be speaking as Zahjira. If you want to roleplay, you are welcome to. I have a bunch of guidelines that, well, I can read fairly quickly that will help you create a character. If you do not want to roleplay, that's much simpler, and all you have to do is put OOC in front of your comments to make it easier for me and other chat to know you're not speaking in character. No problem. I mean, if you don't know what an SRP stream is, it's not exactly mainstream, and a ton of live streamers doing it, so very few people come into an SRP stream knowing what it is. So that's why I pretty much launch into an explanation every time, because, well, it's an educational process, isn't it now? Of course, the whole idea is that you guys get to roleplay and be a part of the story as spirit advisors to my character, and that way it gets basically takes advantage of the live stream and lets you be part of the story, which people enjoy. And please excuse the Khajiit behind the curtain. She does not like anything I'm doing for her. She doesn't want to be covered. Anyway, she woke up and now she's complaining. So if you have any questions, Dynastic, I'd be happy to go through the SRP guidelines. I do have a video, but it needs to be updated, although the majority of it does apply. I will, in the video that I'm going to be doing in the near future, the new What is SRP video for Skyrim is going to be hopefully shorter and a lot more concise, and hopefully a lot more usable. Anyway, just let me know and I'll pause and quickly go through the guidelines so that you can create a character if you are wanting to do that. In any case, welcome to the stream and enjoy. You just need simple rules. Okay, well, okay, so I'll give you the general guidelines, because they apply to any game. And I will be speaking quickly, but if you have any particular question, please feel free to ask it. Like I said, you should put OOC in front of comments that are not in character. It just makes it easier for me when I'm role-playing and I look over at chat. I know to sort of mentally skip over the OOC ones until I get to a save screen, and then I respond to them. Alright. You have one character. Changing to a new one is allowed in moderation, but try to do it only if necessary. Your character is a spirit advisor who can do the following things: interact with other characters in chat as well as with mine, provide general advice, for example, like watch out for frostbite, you've been outside a while, advise mine when she needs for and asks for direct advice, play a part in the unfolding story, and have fun in chat. If your character is from the game world, they're dead. If your character is dead, their death predates the start of the current game timeline. If your character is alive, they're from another planet or reality using some reasonable means to speak to and watch through the eyes of a medium, because that's what Zahjira is in order to hear you guys. Your character does not have the following things: a special background before or after death that is reserved for guides. If you want to know more about how to become a guide, check out my Patreon page. Your character also does not have access to special resources and or people. That is also reserved for guides. Your character does not have special knowledge of any in-game lore secrets or quest lines. Does not have access to information that postdates the start of the game timeline that has not been learned via the SRP livestream. Basically, when in doubt, don't talk about it. And then you won't get in trouble for spoilers. Anyway, your character is not any of the following things: the spirit of any named lore characters from the game world, or personally acquainted with any of them, whether they're dead or alive. Your character did not meet mine in the flesh, nor are they related, although they could be the same race or heritage when they were alive. So they could be Khajiit, or from her homeland, that sort of thing. Right. So that's it. That's the guidelines. There's a couple of additional Tamriel things. An example of some... I did make a minor exception for Tamriel, because so many people have been dying in the war that are basically rank and file. You could have been one of those as long as you'd been dead for at least a year. Like a Stormcloak or Imperial soldier, a farmer that got caught up in the fighting, a townsfolk, same thing. But if you do choose to put your background as that, any information you have about the current game world has to be information that is not... does not spoil any quests, and it's only about minor things like if you were a soldier, you know where your faction camp was. And so if you comment on that, then that's acceptable. But if you try to tell her exactly where Ulfric is and what he's currently doing, then that would not be, because you've been dead for at least a year, and you wouldn't know Ulfric according to the previous guidelines. Are you allowed to give your character a name? Yes, you are. And like I said, okay, now when I go into once I resume playing with Zahjira here, you should put OOC in front of your comments that are not in character, so that, like I said, so I know to, when I go to a save screen, to respond to them then. It's a visual help to both myself and to others in chat to know how to respond to it, because then they don't, and I don't have to try to interpret a comment as being in character. Alrighty then. Hopefully that gave you some food for thought, and look forward to seeing what you come up with. Alright, fellas, are you ready? Khajiit thinks she's ready to try to use the thingy on it. And... no, Khajiit did not hear a sound. Ouch. Whoops. Ah, these stairs are terrible. Khajiit is getting so stuck on them. Okay. Khajiit thinks it would be a good idea to sneak. Okay, well, according to Septimus, this door is going to take us to a place called Blackreach with a tower called Mazark. And it's supposed to be... well, it sounds like it's big. He said something about piercing it, through with Alftand. So while they were doing their work here, they opened an entryway into a big underground cavern? Well, let's find out. Alright, cool. Well, Dynastic, what you need to do, if your character name happens to be different than your personal name, it helps me if you put your character's name and then a colon and then what they're going to say as well, because then I might remember what your character name is. Otherwise, she might end up calling you Dynastic instead. Because sometimes when chat is really busy, well, for me, really busy, it can be easy for me to call you by the wrong name, and that just helps me. Awesome, Assyrian, that's a cool name. You started to say something, Quadoja, but Khajiit missed it. She thinks she hears a Nirnroot. Ooh. Those are little glowy bits in the air. Does it come from the ceiling? Wow, she did not expect it to be lit up like this. Ah, yellow. Yes, Khajiit will be careful. She has run across dwarven things before. It doesn't mean she's not going to surprise. For example, she sees something over there. Right there. See that? That is a thingy. And it's got steam coming out of it, so it's a moving thingy. She wants to take a little bit more of a look around before she starts shooting at things. Okay. And she is going to go back to her magic. Okay, so she sees that one. Ah, and Muse. Hello, welcome. And you're welcoming somebody named Assyrian. Khajiit has not heard that voice yet, but she says hello to that spirit as well. That seems to be the only contraption. Now she has to let her eyes properly adjust. Alright. No, that is not Nirnroot. That is... Well, she's honestly not quite sure what's making that noise. Could the little dots of light be singing? That sounds strange. And her eyes are having trouble adjusting to this place. Alright, so it looks like, in terms of things moving, or potentially going to move, there's just that thing there. But just to be sure, she's going to peek in this direction too. This place is huge! What is... That's a waterfall. Ooh, she bets that water is cold. Alright. Well, first things first, boys. She's just going to take a moment and appreciate the beauty that she sees. Because, well... It's, not something you see every day, now is it? And Khajiit wonders, have these things come here since the dwarves built under here in this cavern she cannot see the end of, although she sees some more buildings in the distance? Or did this stuff come here after the dwarves disappeared? Perhaps we'll find clues, yes? Alright. Khajiit is going to light this thingy afire. I hope. Yes. Fabulous. And yeah, she blew it to bits. If she can, she prefers to take something down in one hit. Because then they don't have a chance to give the alarm. If they have an alarm to give. But she does know that that doesn't always work. If you have to do more than one shot, that is. But fortunately, in this situation, fortunately, her skill at magic is enough to take that out in one shot. Unfortunately, it was also enough to take out the prisoner by accident, so she has to remember she has to be careful. So there's this road, and Khajiit's spells are going away because, of course, now is a good time to do that. These caverns remind you of a far land called Arx. Ah, Khajiit is not familiar with that. She will take your word for it. Burn them alive. Well, Khajiit does like her fire, so Well, technically they aren't alive because they're machines, but she will be happy to burn them all the same. Alright, in fact, speaking of burning, she'd like to not burn herself, so she is going to refresh her spells. Are starting. Oh, 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 Khajiit is sorry. So sorry, you got in the way just at the wrong time? Hold still, Karsho.
I feel like I just woke from a nap.
Oh, good. A nap in which Khajiit almost put you into permanently. She is glad that you have more resistance than the unfortunate, prisoner did. Okay. Right. There are Fromler down here. Okay. Alright, Khajiit needs to finish putting on her spells. Oh, that one isn't... Nope.
I always felt a great deal of guilt running from Nightcaller Temple and leaving my friends to die. I'll never forgive myself for that.
This reminds Irander of his temple, apparently. And Khajiit is listening to her spirits? No, Trinity. Khajiit was trying to hit the Prowler, but Kajo unfortunately stepped right in front of her bolt after she'd loosed it. So there was that she doesn't feel guilty about, because it wasn't an accident, it was just fire that he stepped into. Is not his fault either. It's just one of those things. Khajiit was not trying to hurt him. And Assyrian... Fortunately, Khajiit has given her friends lots of protections against fires, so... plus, they seem to have some of their own, so they usually don't get killed. Actually, she's never killed a friend, so this is good. But, she will admit that even though she shouldn't feel guilt over the fact she just hit Karjo, she does feel a little bit because, well, she certainly didn't do it on purpose. And it wasn't an accident in the same way as the prisoner, because she shot on purpose in the direction he just happened to step into the line of fire. The literal fire. Yes, killing allies would be horrible and you'd be a terrible person for doing that. And Khajiit would not do that. That is not something she would ever do. Alright. Khajiit finds that this weird... It's almost like music, isn't it? Oh. 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 Khajiit wonders if there's anything around here that she should look out for. There's something over there. Okay, she wants this ore. Oops, that's... Come on. Get the right things here. There's something over here. This is why Khajiit usually asks her friends to wait, because they do have a habit of stepping in front of her line of fire. She understands they're trying to protect her. Ooh. It was a Nirnroot, but it was a red one. And now the noise is gone. Alrighty then, Khajiit. No. Is there more of them? She's still hearing a noise. You guys hear this sort of music noise at times. Okay, so it wasn't just the Nirnroot, or there's more Nirnroots here. That's also possible. Okay, so where? Where was the thing she saw? You did not show as red, but you're a Fulmer. Khajiit is unsure she should... You seem to be having an issue. Okay, you are not friendly. Dang it! Alright. Alright, Khajiit is remembering now. She usually asked the boys to wait while she explored things. She's going to have to do that again. Because having them follow her is not working. Quadojo? Karjo, you're alright? Okay, so Khajiit only did a half spell there, so that's why he didn't get hurt so badly. Well, if Khajiit picks all the Nirnroot, then the weird noise should go away. And if you find it annoying, Assyrian... Oh, okay, okay, Khajiit is... Khajiit is remembering more things. Okay. That... Khajiit... Well, she shouldn't really call it forgetting. It's the damage from the avalanche that scrambled her brains. She's relearning how to remember it or something. She's not sure how to put it, but... Okay, she is getting her... This is the first... Since she had her accident, this is the first place you've gone through.
Guilt running from Nightcaller Temple and leaving my friends to die. I'll never forgive myself for that.
Khajiit would feel the same in your shoes, Zarander, so she understands the guilt that you need to talk about from time to time. Alright, so if she hears that sound, it's Nirnroot, because now it's quiet. Although she hears, you know, engines. Engines. Khajiit wouldn't be a hazard to her comrades if they would... Khajiit hears it again. If they would not step in front of her, but they do. And there's... The only way she can stop them from doing that is by asking them to wait far behind. And she doesn't... I mean, she would rather have them with her in case things go bad, but sometimes she just can't do that. As she is now remembering. And she hears another one. The dwarves... The dwarves sure liked their representations of faces, didn't they? Human faces, that is. Well, I guess they're dwarven faces, actually. They just happen to look very human-like. There. Alright. Khajiit... Khajiit is going to take her friends back to the entrance and ask them to wait there. Either that or have them wait behind a little bit. Anyway, she wants to get the ore here that she saw. Now it seems like it should be alright.
My parents are long dead.
But they lived wonderful lives. Well, Khajiit is glad to hear that. Oh, that was just one batch. Okay. Oh, I cannot believe it crashed. I tried to do a quick save. Alrighty, so we're gonna have to redo some of that. Dang it. Skyrim. You drive me insane sometimes. well, enjoy some music, and, well, I'll restart Skyrim. Start Skyrim.
Starting Skyrim now.
In Trinity, yes, that is a good assumption. Start. Dang it. Start Skyrim. Again.
Starting Skyrim now.
I think I'll enjoy a sip of tea. Are you going to start Skyrim? Apparently not. Alright. Fine. Start both those things then. Start Skyrim.
Starting Skyrim now.
Thank you. Shut up, you face. Make me a kangaroo.
I'm a kangaroo.
Alright. Let's try this again. You like how it calls it Skyrim. Yes. Yes, it doesn't always pronounce things correctly. I only have it doing that so that I know it's actually loading it. And they make me a kangaroo one just makes me funny. Or makes me laugh, because I think it's funny. Alright, Okay, so this is back before she found the first Nirnroot. I'm not going to try to have her repeat all the things she did talk about, but I will have her basically rediscover that the noise is Nirnroot. And we'll go from there. So we lost about 8 minutes worth. Alright. Khajiit wants that ore. But is there somebody... Is there anything that she needs to care about near... Okay, there's somebody there. Probably a Falmer, but... There's red and blue? What is blue? Well, she knows blue it says the spell thinks they're friendly. Although she doesn't know exactly how a spell thinks. But red... That was a red Nirnroot that Khajiit just grabbed. She's never seen a red Nirnroot before, so she was hearing Nirnroots. She wasn't hallucinating. Alright, well... Let's go around this way, then. If there's a red thing there, then that's something that needs to be shot at. With a fireball. Khajiit would prefer to shoot it before it sees her. So she could do something like that. And fellas, Khajiit was thinking... She might have to ask you to stand back a little bit more. She doesn't want to repeat her accidental incineration of Carjo on any of you. So is there still a blue? There has to be still a blue because it's not the same thing. What is that? Maybe Khajiit's eyes can adjust a little bit. Oh. Those are cocoons Khajiit begins to remember. They are sometimes ready to hatch. But there's only one blue. In that one. So that's the one that's ready to hatch. Alright. Khajiit has just the thing for that. And that one we're going to break just to be on the... Yes. Ew, Khajiit had forgotten how icky they are. Dynastic, you might want to write down your character's name. And I'll ask you again to please put OOC in front of comments that are not in character. Because it does help me out. And your character's name was Assyrian. Assyrian. Oh, and there's another... Interesting. Khajiit wants to have a closer look at this. Yeah, they pretty much look like a regular Nirnroot. They're just red. Must be because of the lighting down here? If Khajiit had to hazard a guess? Yep. Chorus. Chorus bugs. That's right. Khajiit couldn't remember at first which bugs they were, and that one wasn't ready to hatch. Hey, fellas. Alright, let's have a little look around here, and then we'll go back and grab that ore. Since... Can you take any of this glowy stuff? No, it... Some kind of... moss? Or a lichen? Is it lichens that are on rocks? Khajiit thinks it's called lichen if they're on a rock. And they're like almost as hard as a rock itself, so... Although Khajiit could try to scrape some off, she thinks it has to be extracted, if it's extractable using some other method. Khajiit, here's another Nernroot. Alright, this looks like it's probably an exit. But one must have the way to get it open, and Khajiit does not see any handy lever or button out here. Not even that nice little knobble on your forehead there. Nose? Could she push a nose? No. That would be funny to have a nose.
I always felt a great deal of guilt running from Nightcaller Temple and leaving my friends to die. I'll never forgive myself for that.
Ah, yes, I render telling the others about that. You still hate the noise, yes. Well, it's there it is. It's Nernroot. Once it's picked, it's quiet. So there is that. Looks like there might be some more over there. Possibly some over there, or it could be a light. Khajiit is not sure. Alright. Let's go back. And Khajiit is going to start asking the boys to wait. Because she can always call out and bring them to her if she needs to. They are very, very quick. They are very quick on their feet, so... Alright, this seems like a good spot. Let's have a look at the map. Okay, so it's near here. Okay. So Khajiit would appreciate it. Actually, we can probably go inside together. That's probably fine. Alright, guys. Be ready. Oh, Quadosho. Nope. And there's one in here, too. But it looks...
My parents are long dead, but they lived wonderful lives. I have no sad stories to tell about them. Perhaps one day I'll visit their resting place.
Well, Khajiit is glad that they had good lives. That's something she would wish for, well, pretty much everybody. You, quiet. Alright, well this looks like a laboratory if I've ever seen one. Or, it looks like, judging from all the spider webs and such, that, nobody's been here for a very, very long time. Lots of nerns. Nernroot. Ooh, what do we got in here? Khajiit will take those things. Hi. Oh, there's a book to read. Khajiit will... Ooh, all these things. Lots of ingredients. Khajiit can use... Ooh! And some soul gems. Fabulous. Alright. Oh, she totally missed this. Oh dear. Shot with dwarven arrows. Okay. So who... Let's see, is there anything on you that will help me identify who you were? Yes, yes, there is. There's a journal. Inscribed Sindarian's Field Journal. Khajiit thinks you don't need these arrows anymore. Yeah. Alright, let's check this book, which Khajiit thinks she's seen before. Direrum Durenis by Vorian Dureni. That's a Dunmer name. I am 611 years old. I have never had children of my own, but I've had many nieces and nephews and cousins who have been raised with the tales and traditions of our ancient, illustrious, and occasionally notorious clan, the Dureni. Few families in Tamriel can boast so many famous figures, wielding so much power over the fate of so many. Our warriors and kings are the stuff of legend, and it is not to dismiss their honor and their achievements to say that you have heard quite enough about them. I myself have never picked up a sword or written an important law, but I am part of a lesser-known but still important Dureni tradition, the Way of the Wizard. My own autobiography would be of little interest to posterity, though my nieces, nephews, and cousins indulge me to tell wild tales of life in the chaotic Second Era of Tamriel, but I have a few ancestors whose stories should be told. They may have changed history as we know it as dramatically as my better-known relatives, but their names are in danger of being forgotten. Most recently, Lysandras, the king of Daggerfell, was able to conquer his ancient enemies of Sentinel, in part thanks to his court sorceress, Medora Dureni. Her grandfather, Jovrin Dureni, was imperial battle mage to the court of the Dunmer Empress of Tamriel, Kataria, assisting her in creating peace in a time of turmoil. His great-great-grandfather, Peladil Dureni, had a similar role with the first potentate, and encouraged the Guild Act without which we would not have all the professional organizations we have today. His ancestor, many times back, was the rich Raven Dureni, who with her better-known cousins Aiden and Ryan, brought an end to the tyranny of the latter Elysian Empire. Before the Sigics of Artium, it is said, she created the art of enchantment, learning how to bind a soul into a gem and use that to ensorcel all manners of weaponry. But it is the story of an ancestor even more ancient, more distant than Raven, I wish to tell. Asliel Dureni harkens back to the humble beginnings of our clan in the tiny farming village of Tigriel on the banks of the river Keomas, which was then called the Diren, hence the family name. Like all on Somerset Isle in those days, he was a simple planter of the fields. But while others only grew enough to sustain their immediate kin, even distant cousins of the Durenis worked together. They would decide as a group which fields were best for wheat, orchard, vine, livestock, or apiary, and thereby always have the best yields of any farm which worked alone doing the best as it could with what it had. As Leal had a particularly poor farm for most kinds of agriculture, but small herbs found its stony, loamless, acidic soil very comfortable. Out of necessity more than anything else, he became an expert on all manners of herbs. For the most part, of course, they were used in flavored cooking, but as you know, hardly any plant grows on the surface of our world without a magical potential. Even so long ago, witches were already in existence. It would be ridiculous for me to suggest that Asliel Dureni invented alchemy. What he did, what we can all be grateful for, is that he formulated into an art and a science. Interesting. There were no witches' covens in Tigriel, and of course, there would be no mages' guild yet for thousands of years, so people would come to him for cures. He learned for himself the exact formula for combining black lichen and rue brush to create a cure for all manners of poison, and the amount of willow anther to crush and mix with chokeweed to cure diseases. There were few much greater threats in Tigriel in those peaceful days than disease or accidental poisonings. Yes, there were some dark forces in the wilderness, trolls, chimera, the occasional malevolent fairy folk, and will-o'-the-wisp, but even the youngest, most foolish Altmer knew how to avoid them. There were, however, a few unusual threats which Asliel had a hand in defeating. One of the tales told of him that I believe to be true is how he was brought a young niece who had been suffering from an unknown disease. Despite his ministrations, she grew weaker and weaker every morning. Finally, he gave her a bitter-tasting drink, and the next morning ashes were found all around her bed. A vampire had been feeding on the poor girl, but Asliel's potion had turned her very blood into poison without harming her in the least. If only this formula had not been lost in the mists of history. This would have been enough to make him a minor but significant figure in the annals of early Somerset, but at that point in history, a barbarian tribe called the Lochvar had found their way down the Durin River and recognized Tigreal as a rich target for raids. The Durenni, not being warriors yet, but simple farmers, were helpless and could only flee and watch the Lochvar take the best of their crops, raid after raid. Asliel, however, had been experimenting with the vampire dust and brought his cousins to him with a plan. The next time the Lochvar were sighted on the Durin, the word went out and all the most able-bodied came to Asliel's laboratory. When the barbarians arrived in Tigreal, they found the farms deserted and assumed that all had fled as usual. As they set about stealing the bounty, they suddenly found themselves under attack by invisible forces. Believing the Durenni farms to be haunted, they ran away very quickly. They attempted a few more raids, for their greed would eventually always overpower their fear, and each time they were set upon by attackers who they could not see. As barbaric as they were not stupid, and they changed their mind about the source of their defeat. It could not be that the farms were haunted, because the crops were still being tended and harvested, and the animals seemed to show no fear. The Lochvar decided to send a scout to the farm to see if he could spy their secrets. The scout sent word back to the Lochvar that the Durenni farms were populated with flesh and blood, entirely visible Altmer. He continued to watch as his barbarian cohorts moved down the river, and he saw the elderly and the children flee for the hills, while the able-bodied farmers and their wives went to Asliel's laboratory. He saw them go in, he saw no one come out. As usual, the Lochvar were repelled by invisible forces, but their scout soon told them what he saw happening in the laboratory. The next night, 2 of the Lochvar approached Asliel's farm very stealthily and managed to kidnap him without alerting the rest of the Durenni. The Lochvar chieftain, knowing that the farmers could no longer count on the alchemist to make them invisible, considered an immediate attack on the farms. But he was a vengeful sort, and felt he'd been humiliated by these simple farmers. A crafty plan emerged in his mind. What if the Durenni, who always saw his barbarian tribe coming, for once did not? Imagine the slaughter if no one even had a chance to flee. The scout had told the chieftain that Asliel used the dust of a vampire to make the farmers invisible, but he was not sure what the other ingredient had been. He described an incandescent powder that Asliel had mixed into the dust. Asliel, of course, refused to help the Lochvar, but they were experts in torture as well as pillage, and he knew he would have to talk or die. Finally, after hours of torture, he agreed to tell them what the incandescent powder was. He did not know the name. He only called it glow dust, the only remains of a slain will-o'-the-wisp. He told them they would need a lot of it if they wanted to turn the whole tribe invisible for the raid. The Lochvar grumbled that not only did they have to find and kill a vampire to attain his dust, but find and kill several will-o'-the-wisps to get theirs. In a few days' time, they came back with the ingredients the alchemist asked for. The chieftain, not being a complete idiot, made Asliel taste the potion first. He did as he was told and turned invisible, demonstrating that it did truly work. The chieftain put him to work creating more. No one apparently noticed that while he did, he was nibbling on black lichen and rue-brush. The Lochvar took the potion as he doled it out, and The Lochvar took the potion as he doled it out, and soon, but not too soon that they didn't suffer, they were all dead. The scout who had seen Asliel mixing the visibility potion had apparently mistook the glow of the candlelight in the laboratory for an incandescence which the second ingredient of the invisibility potion did not possess. The second ingredient was actually dull, simple redwort, one of the most common herbs in Tamriel. When they had insisted during torture that Asliel tell them what the incandescent powder was, Asliel remembered that he had once experimentally mixed glow dust and vampire dust together and created a powerful poison. It was simple enough to steal a little redwort from the barbarians' camp, mix that with the vampire dust and glow dust mixture, and create a potion that was in fact an invisibility poison. After curing himself, he gave the poison to the barbarians. The Lochvar, being dead, never again raided the Durenni farms. Yeah, that would tend to put a stop to it. At least until a necromancer raised their remains. And having no other enemies, they were able to grow more and more prosperous and powerful. Generations later, they left Somerset and began their historic adventures on the Tamriel mainland. Asliel Durenni, because of his excellence as an alchemist, was invited to Artium and became a Psijic. Oh, he did! It is not known how many more of the common formulas we know today were invented by him there, but I have no doubt the science and art of alchemy as we know it today would not exist without him. But that is all in the distant past. Asliel's innovations, like my modest ones, like the achievements of the Dorenis throughout history, are but a stepping stone to the wonders which will come in the future. I wish I could be there to witness them, but if I can only share some of the past with the children of Doreni and the children of Tamriel, then I will have considered my life well spent. Oh, actually, Khajiit thinks she'll take that. Oh, and you're talking about Arander there, Assyrian. Yes, he has lost a lot, not just his family. And out of character, see you later. Alright, well, let's read the journal here. Based on the contents of that book... No, actually no, Khajiit doesn't have enough evidence to assume that the skeleton was that of a Dunmer. She thought maybe, but no. Alright. Sindarian's Field Journal. Khajiit is finding it difficult. There, now she can make it out. The 4th Era 58 Second Scene Midas. I've spent a large portion of my life unraveling the mystery of the Nirnroot, and yet I still feel unfulfilled. The trilling sound this strange herb emits seems to taunt me, to push me even harder to discover its secrets. Even after a generous and indomitable traveler became a field collector in my stead and provided me with 5 score of the Nirnroot, I was only able to muster what I considered a mediocre alchemical creation at best. This only served to strengthen my hunger and whet my appetite for the solution. It wasn't until over 50 years later that the answer to my prayers was carried into my basement workshop at the Westweald Inn. The first thing I heard was the familiar tone, that unmistakable warble unique to the Nirnroot. But when I turned around, my heart leapt and a chill ran down my spine. This was indeed a Nirnroot, but of a variety the likes of which I have never seen. The herb was awash in a spectacular array of red hues, each leaf seemingly emblazoned with innumerable variations of crimson. I couldn't move. I was completely transfixed. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined a species of Nirnroot with such a unique property. So, I'm going to guess that this journal is going to talk about him coming here to study them. Assuming, of course, he had the fellow tell him where he got it from. After an awkward silence, I finally managed to stammer out a few questions to the traveler who'd brought me this treasure. He told me his name was Obeth Arnesian, a treasure seeker from Skyrim. Apparently he'd been exploring a vast subterranean network of grand caverns called Blackreach, and had stumbled across what he dismissed as a noisy red weed. His expedition was largely unsuccessful, and he didn't want to leave the caves empty-handed, so Obeth picked one of the Crimson Nirnroot to bring home. He said that it took some time, but eventually he was pointed my way, and that perhaps I'd pay a fair price for it. Before I could gather my wits and ask anything else, Obeth offered to sell me the Crimson Nirnroot sample, a map showing me how to find Blackreach, and the strange key needed to breach its outer defenses. Khajiit was about to say there had to have been more than one key if Obeth had gotten in here, because Khajiit needed a key. That doesn't mean there's any back entrances, but... So it looks like there's more than one key, which kind of makes sense that over the dwarven people would not have had a key to get in here. It doesn't make sense. It's not a prison. It took me mere moments to decide. Obeth left Skingrad 1,000 septims richer, but I would have easily paid 10 times that amount to obtain the sample alone. It took a year of planning, but I was able to pack up and sell my workshop and make my way into Skyrim. Before delving headfirst into Blackreach, I knew I needed to set up a new laboratory, but wished to do so in seclusion. After making inquiries at the College of Winterhold, of which I was an honorary member, I was directed to speak to Avrusa Serethi, a student of botanical alchemy who had a small farm near the city of Riften. By bartering my knowledge of Nirnroot cultivation, I was able to secure Serethi Farm as a launching point for my field research. I kept the knowledge of the Crimson Nirnroot a secret from Avrusa, but imparted everything else I knew to her in exchange for her hospitality. A few months passed, but I was finally ready to enter Blackreach. I used the runed lexicon that Obeth had provided. Is that what it's called, a runed lexicon? And descended into the depths. My goal was to gather enough crimson nunroot to produce my greatest alchemical creation to date. I was certain it would take at least 30 of them to provide the necessary catalyst. This brings me to the present. My initial research seems to indicate that the crimson nunroot has a similar affinity for moisture as the garden variety, but also maintains some sort of symbiotic relationship with that enormous fungi that inhabits Blackreach. It's my guess that the fungi itself is a source of water, absorbing it from the moist subterranean air like a sponge. This provides the ideal environment for the nunroot to grow. Unfortunately, the crimson nunroot appears to have a vastly shortened lifespan, and they're in no way plentiful down here. Gathering 30 of them will be quite the challenge, but hopefully the denizens of Blackreach will allow me to gather my samples unhindered. She kind of thinks he was hindered, in a fatal sense.
Mara, protect us both.
Yes. Interesting. Khajiit is sorry that he perished, but at least it was in search of what made him happy, right? There is that. Well, if these are like the beds in Markarth that my spirits told me about, they are indeed made out of stone. And as a matter of fact, Khajiit seems to remember seeing them before. But anyway, let's see. Ooh. That's a spell. Khajiit thinks she might already have that one. Let's look at the books. That's a very interesting one. Khajiit was not familiar with that particular spell. And she does in fact know that one, like she thought. Interesting. Well, she knows a new spell, although she's not quite sure. She's gonna have to think about it and try to figure out how it works. It was an illusion spell. It looks like it has something to do with creating false images, but Khajiit does not know how to do that. Khajiit does not understand enough about that particular spells in order to make any use of that, unfortunately. Not yet, anyway. Ooh. Yes, Khajiit found these before. She thinks she has a vague memory that she has. She seems to see a little room in her mind's eye with things in it on shelves. She thinks she's remembering the right thing. So if he was shot with dwarven arrows, they didn't take anything. Interesting. Well, Khajiit is going to take a moment and do a little bit of reflection on things. She has fought a lot of dragons. And she's thinking about the various words that she had seen on the walls before she knew what they were. But now she understands what it is, what they are and why they come to her mind now. It's because she is Dragonborn, and although she didn't know what they were at the time, now she needs to think. There was one that made her... She's gonna have to try these out to see what they do, but she's not sure how she understands. She kind of wishes they explained it a little bit better about how these work so she understands. But she will try these. She's curious. Khajiit is going to bring this one to mind. And fellas, she's gonna shout over here because she's probably gonna make a mess. Thum gra mal. Ooh, she kind of can see through her hands. Cool. Khajiit is a ghost. Well, without being dead. Doesn't last very long though. Maybe as she learns more words for it, she'll get better. Interesting. And then there was, well, she already checked the one out that she learned from Parthenax, didn't she? Anyway, she thinks this is, she only knows a little bit of this one, so she's not going to try to do a full show, because it's not going to work. Thum. Interesting. What is... Oh! Thum. Oh, she can't. It's like exercising a muscle. You can only do it so often. Oh, Khajiit is not a spirit, just translucent. Yes! It would make her harder to see, and that's always a good thing, yes? When she is sneaky. Thum. Oh! Look at how slow Randir's going! It seems to... Yes! Look at... It affects time! That's what this one does. Khajiit will have to think about the uses of that. Interesting. Alright, well, Khajiit is going to take a little bit of a rest here. This seems like a good point to do it. Alright, I just realized I've gone past time. I do need to start the next episode. And she will respond to that one comment that you've just made, though. Ah, Trinity, if Khajiit practices it, will she be able to slow time more? Khajiit doesn't know. Shouts seem to be a little different than magic. Like, there are a kind of magic, but it seems like you have to be taught specific words in order to make them stronger. She doesn't know if that means it will last longer or not. It kind of makes sense that as she learns more words to it. But the ones that she has learned so far, albeit not many of them, seem to have 3 words. But she only knows 2, she thinks, that actually have 3 words in them that she knows. This one she was taught by the Greybeard so she could make it to the top of the mountain and see Parthenax. So that's a very situational one. And then, of course, there's this one. She won't speak the words out because, well, she'd probably knock her fellows around. But it's one that pushes people. So she still has a lot to learn when it comes to shouts, but so far, in her limited experience, it doesn't seem practice has any effect on it. It's the learning of the words. If you are not capable of learning the 3 words, you can't do the strongest shouts. Now, all that said, Khajiit is theorizing because she only has a very little experience to go on. Alrighty. Khajiit hears a new spirit voice. When Khajiit says she, yes, she is referring to herself. This is how all Khajiit talk. She knows that other people, like the Nords and whatnot, they speak differently, but, well, that's because they're not Khajiit, right? Alright, I'm going to be starting the next episode here. To answer your question out of character, Andy, this is a serious roleplay stream, so yes, when my character Zahjira, who is a Khajiit, is talking, she will speak the way Khajiit talk. And that's why she refers to herself in the 3rd person, because that's what Khajiit do. And I will put some information in chat while I'm starting the next episode. And yes, it is role-playing, and that's what the SRP in the upper left-hand corner is, to give you the information that this is a serious roleplay stream. If I am not currently in a save screen like this one, I will be in character as Zahjira. So if you want me to tell you more information about how it works, like I said, I'll put it in chat, and at the beginning of the next episode I can quickly go over the guidelines for creating a character so that you can roleplay as one of her spirit advisors if that's something that interests you. Otherwise, if you do not feel like roleplaying, you certainly are not obligated. The only thing that I ask is that you put OOC in front of your comments so that I know to sort of mentally skip those until I go to a save screen, at which point I will respond to you. Alright. If you are watching on YouTube, please look at the upcoming live stream section for the next episode, which should be 3.023, if I've got my number right. And for those of you watching on Twitch and Mixer, the stream will be briefly offline for about 5 minutes while I start up the next episode. But I will be back very shortly, so if you would like to get a tea or something, now would be an excellent time. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back very shortly.